The Valley Fair. The Valley Fair in Brattleboro began in 1886. It was held for one day in the second week of October and had over 5,000 people attending. Farmers exhibited cattle, horses, poultry, sheep, pigs, dogs, fruits, and vegetables, and many ribbons were awarded. The first year resulted in a $300 profit, and from there the Valley Fair Association was formed. The organization purchased land, which presently includes the high school, middle school, career center and town garage, and the Fairgrounds was established. In the early years of the Valley Fair, each year was bigger than the one before. By 1890, the fair was 2 days long, had over 18,000 people attending, and filled the town with visitors from New England and beyond. Over 2,000 people arrived by train in order to attend the activities. Admission was 25 cents a day, and the event grew beyond the fairgrounds. A cavalcade was added to the fair in 1890. Decorated wagons, floats, and carriages were paraded from the commons at the top of Main Street through town to the fairgrounds. Individuals, families, and local companies got into the act and tried to outdo one another with creative decorations that would wow the crowds. Fair supporters decorated Main Street, and the whole town began to participate. In the 1890s, other events were added to the agricultural fair to draw more people. Attendance climbed over 20,000 and never went below that number for the next 20 years. Hot air balloonists would launch into the sky, then jump from 2,000 or more feet and float to the ground with parachutes. Vaudeville acts became part of the show and performed on the infield of the horse racing track. In the 1900s, attendance averaged over 25,000. The daily ticket price rose to 50 cents. Automobiles replaced horse-drawn vehicles in the cavalcade parade through downtown. The fair expanded to 3 days, and local businesses called it a fair week. Midway rides like a Ferris wheel, merry-go-round, and whip were added. This attracted more people, but it also cost more money to operate the fair. Near the end of the first decade of the 20th century, the fair began to struggle. James Fisk Hooker became the president of the Valley Fair Association, and, under his leadership, the fair began to run a deficit. While yearly attendance was still over 20,000, the cost to run the fair increased. Under Hooker's leadership, midway games were introduced, but the deficit continued to grow. In 1909, Hooker moved to New York and resigned as president of the Fair Association. And in 1910, new officers were elected. Dr. Frank O'Connor took over as the association's president. Expenses were cut, and by 1912, the deficit was gone. In 1911, one of the biggest attractions was King and Queen, the diving Arabian horses from Coney Island. A made-in-Brattleboro building was constructed on the fairgrounds in 1913, and local companies displayed items produced in town. The Made-in-Brattleboro exhibit was a big hit. An epidemic of infantile paralysis was feared, and the fair was canceled in 1916 and 1917. The fair committee had spent money to get ready for the fair, and as a result, the deficit was back. In 1918, rain fell on all 3 fair days, and the deficit grew to $11,000, and it was decided to reorganize. Valley Fair stocks were sold at $25 a share, and $15,000 was raised. The new capital erased the deficit and allowed the fair to continue. The fair committee cut the fair back to 2 days and introduced airplane stunts and rides at the retreat meadows to keep up with the times. As the 1920s began, the daily admission fee was raised to 75 cents. The fair was beginning to show its age. The corruption of midway games was exposed in 1922 when one of the operators was caught cheating. It led to a scandal which caused all future midway games to be inspected before they were allowed. In 1927, night entertainment with fireworks and more vaudeville acts were added, but the costs proved to be more than the increased attendance brought in. Reorganization occurred in 1918, and in 11 of the 13 years after reorganization, the fair spent more money than it took in. Fewer people were attending. Expenses continued to rise. By 1931, the fair committee found itself over $7,000 in debt. Proponents of the fair wanted it to evolve into activities that could draw more people, but the organizers were not interested in introducing more activities that went beyond the original family-friendly agricultural fair of the 1880s. After a great deal of discussion, it was decided to sell the fairgrounds to the town for $8,000 and dissolve the Valley Fair Association. Enjoy with us now a few moments from the fair in this rare 1931 video.